The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. More flights have been canceled today as Typhoon Odette further intensifies. Philippine Airlines has canceled flights to and from Butuan, Tacloban, Siargao, and Caticlan, as well as those to and from Cebu, Iloilo, and Tagbilaran. Sebgo flights to and from Siargao, Surigao, and Boracay have also been canceled. Cebu Pacific has also suspended flights to and from Butuan, Cebu, and Boracay. The full list of canceled flights is flashed on your screens. AirAsia, meanwhile, canceled flights to and from Malayaklan. While data is still limited on the Omicron variant, researchers found that existing COVID-19 vaccines have lost some of its protection when faced with this new COVID-19 variant. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us the front seat to the story.
Omicron's increased infectiousness has everyone on the edge. The OCTA research group and business groups are asking the government to advance the interval for booster shots from the original 6 months to only 4 months to head off a potential surge of Omicron cases.
Assuming we have the Omicron start spreading today, and by the end of January, it will be at less than 800 cases per day.
I think we should accelerate the boosting towards 4 months. No?
A study by the UK Health Security Agency, the first real-world study on Omicron, showed that by the 6th month, those who got the Pfizer vaccine only had 30% protection left versus mild and asymptomatic Omicron infection, but they still had 70% protection against severe illnesses. The study, however, showed that the efficacy of AstraZeneca drops flat by the 6th month.
So if you were vaccinated with 2 doses of AstraZeneca, your vaccine effectiveness is down to 0 after 5 to 6 months.
At the same time, the initial data from a study by the University of Hong Kong showed that Sinovac vaccinees failed to develop sufficient antibodies to fight the Omicron variant. The studies on AstraZeneca and Sinovac, however, are still in their early stage and only involve a small number of patients. Nevertheless, researchers say this drives home the importance of getting booster shots early. Father Nicanor Austriaco of the OCTA Research Group said, "We don't have to wait for the vaccine immunity to wane before strengthening it."
We see that with regards to the lab test. So a Pfizer booster will restore antibody levels against Omicron. We see the same thing with Moderna.
As a medical frontliner during the pandemic, Aaron is always wary of bringing home the virus to his children. But getting a booster shot, Aaron says, allays a lot of those fears.
Maging happy yung vacation ko, maging masaya kasi nga kahit pa paano mapoprotektahan ko yung family ko at yung most especially yung mga kids talaga.
But the health department wants more studies to be done before advancing the intervals for boosters to 4 months.
Advancing the booster from 6 months to 3 months, no, is something that is being looked into by our vaccine expert panel.
Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
Hong Kong researchers have found that the Omicron variant can evade the Sinovac vaccine, one of the most widely used here in the Philippines and in many other countries. Jin Chan Hong reports on Bloomberg Daybreak Europe. Let's listen in.
Sinovac's vaccine provides inadequate protection against Omicron variant. That is according to a study by Hong Kong researchers. Now, it's one of the world's most widely used vaccines for coronavirus. So let's get to Jishan Hong and put this in perspective. Jishan, we are concerned now about efficacy of the Chinese vaccine in regards to Omicron. What can you tell us?
So Sinovac has already shipped out 2.3 billion doses of vaccines, and as you said, it's one of the most used, not only in China itself, but also in a lot of developing countries. So the efficacy result from this team of researchers at the University of Hong Kong, led by renowned Professor K.Y. Yuan, is another indicator that we get about the efficacy against Omicron. So out of 25 people they studied fully vaccinated with Sinovac, and they test the serum of these recipients against Omicron, none of them have sufficient protection, antibody neutralization against Omicron variant. So this is a worrying sign that the researchers said they are studying what the booster shot of Sinovac would do to increase this efficacy, but at the same time they are suggesting the population to take more the third doses when the companies and manufacturers are coming up with new generation vaccines.
The OCTA research group says there's no need to panic or to overreact after the detection of 2 Omicron cases in the country. In an interview with 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, OCTA's Guido David explained that the government should still reassess current protocols. However, David emphasized that there's no need to go back to alert level 3 or 4 just yet.
We should reassess yan, at may chance na hindi kumalat itong nadala na itong travelers na to. Pero hindi natin masasabi, kung hindi kumalat, hindi pa naman tayo dapat mag-overreact na, okay, dahil may dalawang cases. Hindi naman natin sasabing wala tayong gagawin. Pero at the same time, ayaw naman natin na mag-react tayo na baka wala naman pala. Ang kailangan siguro ngayon, retain alert level 2, pero pag-iingat talaga.
The PDP Laban Kusi faction is left without any bets for the country's top posts in next year's polls. But the ruling party expects to maintain their dominance in politics, much to the disagreement of some political pundits. Maureen Los Baños has the report.
Top bets of ruling party PDP Laban finally closed doors on a possible election run on Tuesday. Just hours apart, Senator Bongo and President Duterte backed out of the presidential and senatorial race respectively. Their exit leaves the Kusi wing of the party without a standard bearer. But for the group, their dominance remains because of what they say is the president's success. But a political science professor has a different take.
The power of PDP Laban has been diminished. Nag-unravel talaga yung Kusi faction. Whereas the Pacquiao-Pimentel faction, somehow nagpa-function pa.
Discussions now turn as to who the Kusi-led wing will endorse in next year's polls. For Professor Coronacion, the president will likely settle for the candidate who can assure protection if and when charges surface after his term.
Only scenario that I can think of in order to get that protection, even though he's not in power anymore, siya na si Citizen Duterte, is to forge deals with the candidate who has the highest chance of winning.
As for presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos Jr., they're willing to continue what the president has started. That is if he'll get his endorsement. Marcos Jr. hopes that now that Go is out of the race, this may signal a consolidation of forces for the BBM-Sara unit team. But experts are doubtful as to just how influential is the president's endorsement now.
Bumabagsak na dahan-dahan yung kanyang trust rating, approval rating, and even his popularity. Although mataas pa rin naman.
He still has influence over decisions of COMELEC or courts, maybe indirectly, or so given the court cases against Mr. Marcos, that when you talk to even independent lawyers, people will say that there's validity to the petitions. But we know that that's where the lame duck question might come in also.
With Go's exit, presidential aspirant Manny Pacquiao is hopeful that he'll secure the Mindanao vote. Reporting for News 5, Maureen Los Baños, we are One News.
Miss World Philippines, Tracy Maureen Perez has made it to the final cut of the pageant's Beauty with a Purpose Challenge. Along with the advocacy projects of the candidates from South Africa, England, Kenya, the United States, and India, Tracy's project, which speaks of her advocacy to support and empower single mothers, was selected for funding by the pageant. This is on top of Perez securing a spot in Miss World's top 30 after winning its head-to-head challenge. Tracy said she dedicates her Beauty with a Purpose project to her late mother and all the single mothers in her community.
In every smile and laughter, every narrative told in words or silently spoken in tears, I see a reflection of my mom. Her tenacity to face obstacles and her grit to overcome them all. That is my driving force to fight for this cause. I know that by taking care of them, I'm also taking care of her.
Time now for a quick look at some of today's headlines. Typhoon Odette is forecast to intensify further ahead of its landfall. With the Philippines' detection of its first Omicron cases, the DOH says it might take a full month before we feel the effect of the new variant in the country. And the annual tradition of Simbang Gabi, or Misa de Gallo, has started. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 10:45 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We're One News.